Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much, much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
So nice to have you with us and back again. Thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Live program, your number one source for all of your real estate needs and education. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for the 2 p.m. Wednesday edition of Real Estate Radio Live that comes to you Wednesday and Friday at 2 p.m., and daily Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. along with my co-hosts, Joe Cachera, Mike D'Ambrosio, and Bobby Decker. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on reradiolive.com, and you can catch my programs on tomwilsonproperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. You can also go to our website, tomwilsonproperties.com, and get a lot of investor education information, and also see what our latest products are in rental homes that are turnkey and also already cash flowing, and also commercial syndications such as our current Western Crossing product retail center that you can own part of a institutional quality commercial product for $50,000 a share. And if you'd like to know more about that sort of thing, or if you have any questions about real estate investing, please contact us. info@tomwilsonproperties.com, or go onto the website and let us know how we can help you in any way. Today we're pleased to have back with us a periodic guest that we love having on, Michael Morrongiello. And Michael's been involved over the years in the purchase of thousands of seller finance real estate loans in every state in the union, and knows what crucial skills must be mastered in order to succeed with discounted paper. And he's very big expert in this area, creative financing. He's done long-term holds. He's done flips. He's done in-state, out-of-state. He also and he has his company he does most of this through called Sunvest, and he also is the president of BAWB, Bay Area Wealth Builders, one of the leading real estate investment organizations in the Northern California, and that meets monthly up in Marin County. So, Michael, always good to have you on, and welcome to the show today.
Tom, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Boy, you seems like I almost think we're more engaged in the business now than we were 10, 20 years ago. It's just everything moves fast, and you got to keep up with it, don't you, to really stay on top of it and to take full advantage of this very, very dynamic market that we're in.
Well, it's a very interesting market I think we're in. And also, I think, as you mentioned, we are living in the day and age where we have a 24/7 news cycle, too. And those affects the market, the psychology of the market, and not just with real estate, but the financial markets, the election cycle that's unfolding, things going on overseas, and so forth. We're inundated with information, and the way people react to that is very interesting.
Boy, it really sat me on my seat when the Brexit vote happened close to midnight and Greenwich Mean Time, and within a few hours when the Tokyo market opened, it dropped 10%, and in the U.S. time zones. We didn't even know about it till we woke up the next morning to find this had happened in the middle of the night. Isn't that amazing?
It's wild, and I'll tell you, one of the interesting things that I kind of chuckle about now is the headline in the New York Post newspaper once the vote became apparent that it was going to pass. It was rather a cute headline that had, I think it went something like, "See EU later."
Oh, geez. Well, those editors have fun, don't they?
They do have a little fun with coming up with those headlines in the newspapers, yes.
And of course, they add a little fuel to the fire, right? They tend to amplify things because what they do is sell drama. And,
yes, indeed. Yeah. But it is. I think you and I know, have talked a little bit about, but for the benefit of your listeners, there is some, I think, effects that are taking place here in the United States. But long term, we're probably not going to know for a few years till this shakes out.
Yeah, there's always, as our friend Sean O'Toole says, he's been kind of preaching for a few years since the crash that we can't keep kicking the can down the road forever. And he's saying, well, I still think there could be consequences at some point, but I'm beginning to think we can kick it down farther than we thought we could, as long as we're the, as Doug Duncan says, we're the best-looking horse outside the glue factory.
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of flight capital, a lot of money that's going to continue to come here as a safety zone, a safety haven, not just from European countries, but and certainly as a result of Brexit, but always historically from other areas as well. I mean, people overseas, and they look at the United States as somewhat still stable, and that real estate values probably here are going to be a good long-term investment for them. So, yeah, I think in the short term it's going to help. It certainly has helped lower interest rates, at least in the short term recently. And but as you and I both know and have talked recently about, that may be changing too with the recent Fed meeting in Jackson Hole.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Certainly, I think many listeners have read the book Black Swan, which is about how unpredictable, kind of random, significant events can trigger significant changes in the economy, like 9/11, as there probably are best example in recent history, but. It used to be, I think, long before world communications happened, people wouldn't find out until maybe 6 months later that some major event had happened in another part of the world, and by then things had kind of settled out and smoothed out. Now we have these great reactions to things, and now we seem to have more and more of these black swans, which now are becoming so commonplace with terrorist acts and Brexit and things like that, that it almost seems like, to some degree, some of the market's starting to become a little desensitized to it, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's interesting to note.
No, it is. It's an interesting observation, and I think again that we'll continue to be viewed here in the United States as a safe haven for foreign money, foreign investors. One issue that maybe you and I may not agree on, though, is that we have seen some sort of softening in the luxury housing markets, particularly here in the Bay Area, of recent months. And I think that this Brexit thing may help actually shore that up. And the reason I would say that is that the UK is a gateway, or has been recognized as a gateway city, or London and whatnot, to Europe. And I think some of that money that was being targeted to that type of housing very well may come back here to the United States now and help shore up some of the luxury housing here. But time will tell. We'll have to see how that shakes out.
Yes, it's interesting how the initial reaction to Brexit was other countries and people thinking, "Oh my gosh, maybe this is going to trigger a negative domino effect," and I think people's initial reaction to change is fear. But it didn't take too many days for, I think, that initial reaction to kind of settle out, and I think it was certainly has still some concern for UK's market near term, but as we looked at it from our perspective, it looked like there's nothing but potentially positive impact to the United States, and part of that is real estate money moving here. Now, whether or not, and we've already seen a little bit of that happen, even though ironically, right, it's going to take 2 years for it to really take place, but of course people react to what they anticipate, not what's already happened. And so I think I certainly don't have any. I haven't formulated a strong opinion about how much it might help our luxury market. I think some of the critics out there certainly think that money is going to flow here to real estate, and I guess the question is, is some of that money going to go to the luxury side? And it sounds like you've thought about it and you think it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in certain so-called vibrant cities, metropolitan areas, certainly the San Francisco Bay Area would be in that category, that it will, at least in the short term, help shore up some of the what appeared to be some sort of softening that was taking place in the luxury housing. But again, time will tell. One interesting thing about all of this discussion, and it kind of dovetails on what we're talking about, is, and it's a saying that somebody shared with me a few months ago as it relates to the financial markets, but really as it relates to life in general, and you can read into it as often or as much as you want, and that is, we don't pick the time. The time picks us. And it's so true about things that evolve throughout our lives, and even in our financial and investment decisions. That time is something that often picks us, and we don't often get involved in picking it. It's at the very peak or at the very bottom.
Yes, and I also think people tend to. We naturally, I guess, as with our survival instincts, we always want to be greedy and get the absolute max out of something. And I think, now that we know we have to follow and watch these economic cycles a little bit closer than we used to, because there's a tighter coupling and a bigger kind of a harmonic repercussion. Got to be. People need to remember that they don't need to get it perfect, right? We need to watch it, and yes, we have to react to what's going on, but you don't have to get in at the exact bottom, and you don't have to get out at the exact top, but you just want to get it near. One of my favorite stories about that is the Lafitte Rothschild family, which one time was the wealthiest family in the world in France, and in the 70s, the great-grandson was interviewed and was asked to what single thing did he most attribute his family's great wealth, and his answer was by getting out too soon. So I thought that was pretty. That was pretty interesting. So don't be too greedy. We got to wrap up this segment, Michael, and we'll be back with more discussion about Brexit and other topics about taxes and entities. And some very interesting workshops and things that Michael's got coming up. So stay with us. We've got Michael Morrongiello with us today, and we will discuss some more about these topics in just a moment.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Well, we have with us today Michael Morrongiello, and he's up in Marin. Michael owns the company called Sunvest, who deals in notes, and he's got experience in flipping houses and long-term holds, creative financing, and he's also the founder of you're founder, right, Michael, of the BAWB?
Yes.
Are you
yeah, we started back
he's
in
founder, and that's the and I believe that's the longest running real estate investment organization in Northern Cal.
We're
At any
now
rate,
in our 16th year, yes.
Yeah, it's certainly a premier one, and if you haven't been, it's certainly worth going. He has wonderful folks coming as guests to speak, and some that I've met there who've become good friends, and some of my most respected resources. So thank you, Michael, for that gift. I know a lot of others do too.
Glad to have you come, Tom. It's always fun to visit and have people listen to some of the speakers and the topics, and really, I couldn't suggest that even more for people that are listening in, that their first action is to always continue to learn and earn. Because sadly, the statistic I think is that Americans, for the most part, many of them are financial failures. 95% of our population, sadly, will probably reach the age of 65, and many of them still will be dependent on work and on savings or the government.
Indeed, and I'm honored to and proud to be a sponsor of BAWB as well. And it's a wonderful resource. And you do not have to, yes, there are lots of boot camps and expensive things that you can take to learn. I proudly tell people, even after all my 5 decades worth of investing, that there's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something new about this business. And that's what keeps it interesting and keeps you vibrant and allows you to be successful as well. It's got to keep learning, and you don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to learn. I'm not saying that there isn't value in those, but it's very, very expensive to come to the top RIAs in the Bay Area like BAWB, and the amount of information you can gain from that is just tremendous. And the ones that I respect and go to the most and are ones that really focus on education. Somebody giving a talk is, of course, going to be in some kind of business and probably hopes to gain some relationships from that. But the focus is really on education, and you can get a whole evening of very valuable things to learn.
Yes, it's nice, and often sometimes you hear things that you may already know or have been exposed to, just said a different way, and it can click with people. And I know that I've seen that happen myself, and continue to see it happen, where I may have heard discussion on, entities or taxation issues or negotiating strategies. And these are all things that, we do cover as they relate to real estate at our events. And I know there are other events out there as well. But as I said, sometimes you hear it just said a different way, and it can resonate differently for folks.
Or maybe when you first heard it, it didn't seem relevant to what you were doing, but now it is. And also the laws change, and you got to keep up with that, and it can have a big impact as well. Yeah, and I know we only have a minute left in this segment, but I know you have a couple of great speakers coming for a workshop. Just to give 30 seconds about intro, and then we'll talk some more about that, Michael.
Sure. We have coming up on Saturday and Sunday, October 22nd and 23rd, actually down near the South San Francisco airport location, a class on advanced tax minimization strategies and asset protection. And we'll have John Heyer, who's a tax attorney, and also a gentleman by the name of Dykes Bodderford, who will be the instructors for those 2 days. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about it, but there's a lot of questions I know you and I get asked often about entities, about corporations, whether you go with a C Corp or an S Corp or an LLC or a trust. And should those be domiciled in California?
It can get pretty complex. Let's tell a little bit more about that as soon as we get back after the break. We have with Michael Morrongiello and up from Marin, and stay with us.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
We have Michael Morrongiello with us today. He's the president of Sunvest Corporation and also the president and founder of Bay Area Wealth Builders Real Estate Investment Organization. And Michael was telling us before the break about a couple of the guests coming up. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what they'll be talking about?
Well, the topic, the workshop that's coming up on October 22nd and 23rd is on asset protection and advanced tax minimization techniques, and really entity structuring for both asset protection and minimizing taxes is an area that every investor and or business entrepreneur needs to understand. This particular class gets into the advantages and disadvantages of the various entities that are out there in the marketplace that people can use, whether that be a C Corp or an S Corp or a limited liability company. And
Michael, I don't know about you, but I think it's also one of the most misunderstood areas of the business that we're in.
Oh, there's no question. We get so many questions, and I know you do as well, Tom. And this class is going to give people an understanding of how to use these entities to interact with one another to benefit them, and also often benefit their real estate portfolio as well. So the goal is that this is an information-packed class that is going to assist the business person or real estate entrepreneur the ability to customize their own plan and to properly set things up and structure them. I mean, there's formalities on how to operate these entities. There are questions about whether they should be in-state or domiciled out of state. That'll come into play and will be covered. One of the gentlemen, speaker, is an attorney who's a tax attorney whose practice is audit representation. And so he's battling with the IRS and doing battle with them, representing clients, and he's really in the catbird seat to see what is triggering audits and how information should or should not be represented on returns. So he'll be part of that two-day discussion. And then, of course, Mr. Bodiford Dykes is a wonderful and very thorough presenter and real estate entrepreneur, and he'll be giving his take also on the way that these entities can be used. One quick example, and we won't get into it, I know, because we have a limited time today, but is people buy and sell property, and that is a highly taxable way to do business. And there will be some discussion on ways that maybe those taxes due on that type of dealer activity can be minimized or mitigated.
That's a lot of information to cover, and what I've learned is that also, a lot of people get entities when they don't need them, or two, they get the wrong kinds of entities. And they don't know the right formalities on how to operate them properly, which in and of itself is very critical to make sure that the filings and the formalities are followed. So that will be also covered and discussed extensively, during that 2-day event. Yeah, and I tell people that if you're going to have an entity, it's hopefully you'll never need to use it, because you got to have a problem. You got to have a problem you can't solve. They got to sue you. You got to lose the lawsuit, and the liability insurance doesn't cover you. But if you're going to backstop all of that with an entity, then by golly, it better be the right one, and it better follow the procedures, or else what you thought was a protection is just something that can be pierced very easily, and you wasted all that effort. We've got Michael Morrongiello with us today, talking about some workshops coming up, and the subject of taxes and entities and Brexit impact, and we've got more for you in just a couple of minutes right after the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
We're talking about some of the topics that everyone who's investing in real estate should know about in order to be a really successful and good investor. We started off talking about economic cycles and how things like Brexit affect it, and you need to understand that, not because you can change it, but because you need to make decisions based upon how that happens. You also need to know about taxes. How do you take full advantage of the law? Tom Wheelwright, who is the advisor to Robert Kiyosaki, whom I've known for a few years, says that it amuses him but also bothers him that everybody's so scared of the tax code. He says there's only 15 pages that deal with how much money they take from you. There's like close to 8,000 pages that tell you all the ways that they want you to invest and spend money on business so that you can avoid taxes. So you shouldn't be afraid of it, but you've got to learn. And again, I think it's very important to have on your team, you need to have resources who are experts in their area relative to what you're doing, in this case, real estate, to take full advantage of it. So need to know about taxes, need to know about what kinds of entities you should or should not have, and how to make sure they're viable. And Michael has a class, usually about annual, don't you, Michael? And it's called Crush It. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, Tom, this is really going to be focused more on how to generate income, and which obviously is a priority. Then you can worry about taxation, of course, as well. But the Crush It class is taught once a year, and really it's about learning the secrets of real estate success and real estate investing, kind of made easy, fun, and profitable. I like to say that making $1 million in real estate, it really is no longer an option. For some people, it's a necessity for surviving and thriving during these crazy economic times. And,
isn't it it's really
day.
terrible, isn't it? It's really terrible how many people wind up at retirement age and they have to either depend on the government or continue on to work.
Well, there was a news story a few months ago about how most Americans are walking the razor's edge and sadly don't even have $1,000 of disposable capital available to them in the event of an emergency.
Yes, it's terrible. Tell us a little bit more about your class.
So the class is really a full day, and we cover a lot of different topics. We cover how to formulate a marketing plan for yourself to be able to find opportunities or have them find you in the kind of market we're in right now, and creating those spokes on the wheel that will generate lead activity to come your way and into your marketing funnel. We will cover, of course, role-playing and negotiating with property owners or sellers, a number of creative financing techniques and concepts. We will cover some of the paperwork that I like to use in my own business when I'm dealing with a seller directly, including a very simple worded agreement that I like to say is written in civilian language. And we'll also talk about ways to continue to do business in a market that may be shifting. And there are ways to do business where you can protect yourself and do business safely. Another thing that I like to share with people, and this is from my years of being in the trenches and in combat, is a couple of things. Many folks would like to disguise the acquisition price of a property, and that might be important to some folks. And, of course, as of January of this year, that's become more problematic because of disclosure requirements of transfer taxes on deeds that get recorded. So there's a couple of tricks that we'll talk about if it's important to you to be able to disguise what you paid for a piece of real estate. We'll talk about how to get paid, having a property demolitioned or to get doing demo on a property. That's of benefit to a lot of people. And we'll also talk about how to respond to multiple offers, which has been going on lately, so that you don't leave thousands of dollars on the table. Many people often take just the highest price, and they're in a multiple offer situation that they're receiving on their properties, and there may be a way to get that price up even higher so that they're not shortchanging themselves.
There's in those situations, there's a great opportunity there. People sometimes get so excited about getting a price that they had hoped that there with just a little bit more effort, sometimes they can really leverage that and get something that they'll never have the opportunity to do again with that exchange or with that sale.
Oh, no doubt. And again, there's an art to negotiating, with folks, and not only just, but when you're buying also, if you're buying and you're in a multiple offer situation, there are some techniques to employ to try to defeat the other buyers as well. Not that it's always going to work, but it is certainly something that a lot of people can benefit of, and that's that is starting to change again as this market is evolving. There's a lot of people that are just continuing to plod ahead with blinders on. And as I said, what I think is very important is there are ways to minimize risk when we are in a market that may very well be starting some kind of a correction phase. One simple example would be the use of options. Options is a way to control that property or control that property deal and have it on a unilateral basis where you don't have to perform. You may not want to perform if things don't continue moving in the direction you want them to.
And I think it's very important for people to understand that the market. I'm sure you often get questioned, what do you think is going to happen to the market? I'm going to ask you that after the break when we do the wrap up here. But the market is thousands of submarkets, and you can be in a buyer's market, and when one market, another part of the same metro, it could be a seller's market. So you need to use different strategies for different products and different geographical regions and different price products within each of those situation. Each situation is unique. We have with us today Michael Morrongiello, who is talking to us about a lot of the things that he's learned over the years, and that he has some classes and workshops coming up that would be very beneficial, I think, for you to consider, and pretty inexpensive way to get some very good learning. So stay with us here, and we're going to ask Michael what he thinks going to happen to the market. So, we'll be right back.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Oh, it's so nice having Michael Morrongiello with us. You're so easy, Michael. You got so much information to share with us. I hate when it comes close to the end, but we are of this particular program. I know we'll have you back here in a couple of weeks. But where do you think our Northern California market, maybe U.S. market, is headed? Should everybody bail from everything, or is it you have to watch the different submarkets? What do you tell people when they say what's happening with the market?
Well, Tom, it's always nice to be with you and with your listeners here. And I'm not going to be apocalyptic, but let me just share with you a story recently in Sonoma County. Recently, we reached a $600,000 milestone there. And that is now within 3% of the so-called pre-bubble prices. And in many other parts of the Bay Area, we've already exceeded those prices from the past. But just to share with you historically that the last time prices were that high was in June of 2007, when the median price in Sonoma County was $605,000. The very next month, prices began a 20-month plunge, causing many cases that median price to be cut in half. Now, I don't believe that's going to happen this go around. I think that we are going into a correction phase, and those that are astute are starting to see that. Many that are reading the news may be behind the curve and not seeing it. But the fact is that California always has been more of a bellwether state for the rest of the nation. And I think we've had our time. We've had our run-up. The rest of the nation is starting to experience a lot of that now. But I do think that we're going to be going into a softening phase. I don't think it will be a major crash, but I do think people need to be paying attention, as we discussed on the program today, for this slowdown and to be prepared for it.
Yep, indeed. Thank you, Michael, and tell us again about the 2 workshops coming up.
Well, we've got 2 classes, and people can always go to our website, which is www.bawb.info. BAWB.info. There's the Crush It class in November 12th that I will teach. I only teach it once a year. We'd love to have folks come out and visit with us on that. And then I think arguably one of the most important classes people need to learn about is the advanced asset protection and tax minimization techniques, Saturday and Sunday, October 22nd and 23rd, down near the SFO airport. Again, they can go to the website, www.bawb.info, and click on workshops, and then get all the information they need there about those events.
Wonderful, Michael, and his guests coming out. And I know Michael is a great teacher who not only can paint the strategic picture, but gives some great nuts and bolts of how to do it as well. So I highly recommend those. Great having you on the program again, Michael. And always remember to go to TomWilsonProperties.com. Also, as well as BAWB, for a lot of investor information. You can sign up for our newsletter. It gives a weekly update on what's going on in the world of economics as it applies to real estate and real estate in the news. A lot of other investor information and what the latest products are and commercial syndications and houses that we have available. So we always welcome your questions and suggestions for topics and guests. Thanks so much for being with us. We just love doing this program and bringing you information about real estate investing. Remember, the only thing that matters is what you do next.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in. Download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.